Okay guys, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through and examine some scope problems. So we're going to go over what class level scope is, what method level scope is, and what block level scope is. So in this video I'm just going to give you an example of all this. You're going to have a handout of all this information, but let's go ahead and go over class level scope first and just see what it is. So if you notice, you can go ahead and you can put a variable right underneath the public class declaration, and you could use this variable in a couple different methods. You can use it everywhere. This is useful when you have one variable where you want to use it in multiple places. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Let's we can take a quick look. So let's just do a new project. Doesn't matter what you call this. We don't want to create a main class. And right click, new JFrame form. Doesn't matter what you call it again. And all we're going to do here is we're going to put in 3 buttons. And we are going to put in a label. Just make it easy for ourselves, okay? And we're going to go ahead and double click here. And we're going to go to the top of our program. And we're going to say this. We're going to say int myvar equals 0. And you can notice it turns green. When it turns green, right here, this means we could see it everywhere, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our design. Let's go ahead and go in this button. And we're going to say myvar equals 100. Let's go in this button. And here we're going to say myvar equals myvar plus 20. So whatever myvar is, let's say myvar was 100, it will equal, is going to equal what it was before plus the 20, right? So that's good. Let's get rid of that. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the third button. Here we're going to say myvar equals 0. So what this will do is reset myvar to 0. Okay, let's see how this runs. Let's go ahead and run the file. Now, what didn't I do? What I forgot to do is actually display the variable. So let's go ahead and make another button. And here we'll display the variable. So we're going to say this dot jlabel1 dot set text, and we'll say myvar equals plus myvar. Okay, so what's going on here is this is a string. Okay, that's a string, and this is the variable it's going to equal. So you're going to get myvar equals, you know, whatever it may be. Let's go ahead and rerun it. That should be 120. If I click this again, it'll go to 140. If I click this again, it'll go to 160. If I click this, it'll go back down to 100. And if I click this, it'll go to 0. Okay? And that's it. So that's pretty easy to understand. If you wanted to, you could always do this. So you get a real-time update of it as you press it. So no matter how many times I press that, it'll be 100. This is adding 20 to it every time I press it. So just whatever it is, you're adding 20 to it, right? This makes it 0, and this will show it again. That does nothing. Okay, so that is how we use class level scope. Let's look at method level scope. So let's go ahead and go to one of these, and we're going to make we're going to say something interesting. We are going to say int myvar equals 10. Now this is kind of interesting. You say, hey, wait a minute, this one's green and this one's black. What's going on here? What's happening is when I do a method level variable like this, I just declared it here, it overwrites the variable that we declared at the top here. If you ever don't like all that, just hit minus. It overwrites. We don't need any of this. We don't need to see this. It will overwrite this right here. So we have this variable, right? If we say int myvar, it actually overwrites the one at the top. So it's going to use 10. Watch this. Check this out. See, it's not adding 20. So just know that that's how that works. I could even say myvar equals myvar plus 10, and it'll still be 10. Okay? That's kind of interesting. It overwrites it. Let's put another variable in here. Let's get rid of this example for a second. And let's say int number equals 50. And instead of putting myvar, I'm going to go ahead and put number. And let's just comment this out, okay? Now, you'll know what this will do. It'll print out 50. Now let's try using number here. Number equals 20. And this will not compile. Why? If we go to here, it says cannot find symbol, variable number, location, class, JFrame. It's looking at the top. And it's saying, is it at the top? Nope, it's not here. That means this variable is only visible. This variable is only visible in this method here. Okay, it's only visible in this method here. Once it leaves this bracket and it gets down here in this other method, it is not visible. Okay, you can't touch it. So this is method level. Let's try one more. The last one we're going to do is called block level scope. This is interesting, where you could actually make a variable in an if statement, and it's only seen in that if statement. Let's take a look. So I might say something like, if myvar is equal to 40, just for the heck of it, right? Make it easy for ourselves. Check this out. We're going to say int num will equal 10. And let's try putting num here. Now wait a minute. This says cannot find symbol, but it's right here. It's in this method. It should work, but it's not at the top of the method. Let me get rid of this code here. So you could think of block level scope kind of like how a method is in a class, where if you have a method like this in your class and you define the method if you define the variable in the method, it's only visible to that method, that block of code. So this is kind of like having a method inside of a method. But in our case, it's conditional, where this variable is only visible to this block of code. So now how would I use this if I wanted to use it? I would do something like this. Now it would work. Let me just go ahead and comment this out. So now this works because it's defined right here in this block, and we're using it in this block. So let's see how that works. Yep, there you go. So it's right there. It's 10. Now this is kind of interesting. Keep this in mind. This is a little different. Now if we go here, it says variable num is already defined in this method. So if I have a variable that's already defined in the method, and I try redefining it in the block, it won't let me. It's illegal. It allows me to do it when I define it here, and I try putting it in the method, but it won't allow me to do it if it's in a method and I try doing it in an if statement. So just keep that in mind. Okay? So I think I talked about that here. I don't remember. I don't know. Just know that that's the rule. I could type that in for you. So we'll put special rules for block level. You can't define a variable that already exists in that method. Special rules for class level. And that would be if we redefine the variable in a method or block, it will overwrite the class level variable. Really important to understand that. Okay, so that's all I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you understood that. You could read over this if you're a little confused. I gave you some examples, and there are some exercises here, so I want you to take the time to go ahead and go over these exercises, and that's it.